The one thing that's worth noting is that if somebody goes down here, they're going to the basement. Because Shelter Woods does not have a main building. It only has the shack. The basement is always in the shack. And you have a Sabo build. Now, you could get a pallet stun to save the person if they go down at the pallet, but ultimately, this person is probably going in the basement. And so you're really not going to be able to save them most of the time. Yep. Does this work? You're kidding. Wow. Wow, wow. Oi, 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 YouTube. We've got a banger video for you today. As you guys know, every Tuesday we try to do gameplay reviews where you guys submit gameplay in our Discord and we will review it. We'll try to select a few of them, a handful of them, and go over them for you. And it's got to come to my attention. We don't do enough Survivor reviews. So we had a Survivor match that we reviewed against a Trickster, and it's a really great example on how to not sandbag your team and throw the match for flashlight saves or sabotages. You know, it's okay to go into a match and be like, I want a flashlight save, I want a sabo. But if you're also trying to get the dub, sometimes you got to hunker down and make the right choices, and this is a good example of all that. So I hope you guys love the video. Thank you for being here. Please unclench your jaw, get some water, relax, vibe, and I'll be praying to the entity to see you guys in the next video. Shouting expletives. So, all right. So we got Shelter Woods with the Ronaldo, the Cheryl setup. We have the breakout sort of Saboteur build. So we got Deadheart, Saboteur, breakout, self-care, and then we got the toolbox with the Sabotage add-ons. So let's see how this goes. Okay, so we got Ruin. Good job testing for Ruin. That's like a big thing nobody does, is like good job testing for it. Very smart. Like just walking up to a gen, tapping it, and seeing if it sparks will tell you if Ruin is on the field, and that's smart. That's really good. Good job not leaving any scratches. Trying to... I think there is a little bit of wasted time here. I know that you're very much trying to get like the sabotage stuff here, so I don't want to say too much there, but I definitely think that maybe just wasting a bit of time, which ultimately could end up definitely not being good for the team. We'll see what happens. Like, I think that, like, personally, I would have just been like, okay, let's get Ruin out of the way, and then I can fuck around and get some sabotages and stuff like that. But, like, with Ruin in play, it's super easy for, like, everything to become, like, a sandbag, you know, anytime that's not on gens. So she did a good job running, though, and you got on the gen, so it is what it is. Not too bad. I wouldn't stress about it too much. When Ruin's up, I usually, like, I'm not necessarily going for flashlight saves and things like that. Once it's gone, I'm like, okay, the pressure's kind of back a little bit. We're good. There goes Ruin. Okay, so when Ruin's cleansed, be sure that you're taking and you hop off the gen, right? Because, I mean, right now it still says you're cursed, but you want to double check because you might be cursed by something else in certain scenarios, right? So the cursed icon will tell you, like, hey, Ruin is still up, which would be like Ruin undying in this scenario. But in some specific cases, you might be cursed by something else. So don't just rely on the icon. Hop off the gen, see if it sparks, and then keep doing your thing. In this case, you're good. But going forward for like anybody else, be sure that you guys are testing it out. You're listening for that. Lullaby. If you guys can hear that, that's the lullaby. Just the slow, like, droning sounds that you hear kind of. There you go. Yeah. So good job listening for the lullaby. I would be very, very careful. So one thing you don't want to do against Trickster is get caught. So running early is always better than hiding, because so say that you hide right here and Trickster finds you. He walks up, he body blocks you and throws knives for a full health state. You barely get away. He downs you. I know you're trying to be like covert and get this gen like cranked out, but I think in a lot of cases it's real dicey to just hide. So I'd be very careful. You have ample time to early run. That may be a better option, but so this is scary. I would be very careful just trying to hide. A lot of people try to hide against me and it doesn't work very well for them. And those are the people that DC. So Good job taking the authoritative position here and being like, okay, I'm going to go for the unhook, right? Not assuming that somebody else is going to get it. It's a big thing that new survivors do is they assume that someone else is going to unhook, and that's a #1 way to get you and your entire team into an awful situation. I don't know. Okay. I have to assume the other Cheryl went back to the gen that she was going to be working on. Or, well, I guess it's Elodie. It looked like Cheryl from her shirt, but... Not doing too shabby, though. There's second... Oh, there you go. You guys are out of the woods. In my mind, you are free to fuck around, you know? And if Ruin or Undying gets cleansed, if Ruin's the only thing up, if Ruin gets cleansed while a gen's regressing, the gen stops regressing. So you saved yourself a little bit of a percentage, not a lot. Okay, that was really good. So we see that Trickster's in a chase right here. This is something all survivors need to really get used to, is right here. If you see these little pincers pulsing and moving around, that means that this person is being chased. The good news with Tricksters, you see the little bars here. These are the laceration meter. If you see anybody else getting a laceration meter, you know that the killer's on them, and that's your cue to go get the unhook, right? So right here we see the little tendrils moving. That is signaling to Ronaldo, I got to go get that unhook. There you go. Because what will happen, and this is like really spooky stuff, but what will happen is if somebody else gets hooked, what he's going to do is he's going to hook that person and then check the first hook. And so you can't let them get a second hook. If you do, you put your entire team in a really, really dangerous position. So if somebody else gets downed, you need this first person to be unhooked ASAP. If you don't, then you run the risk of, like, people call it sort of camping, but it's just really great strategy. Really good job seeing the other person go in for the unhook there and just being like, okay, let me get back to a gen. That person's on second hook. That is really great pressure for the Trickster. Right now, I would say you haven't been hooked. So while you do need to gen jockey, I would also not be afraid to take some aggro, because if this girl gets caught or this girl gets caught, that's really a rough life. This Trickster's playing really smart in the fact that he's getting somebody to stage 2 as fast as possible without camping or tunneling per se, right? Really smart plays right now. I think you're doing a really, really good job at really... The decision making is solid. It's very, very solid. And even though you have a Sabo build, I think right now you're seeing, like, we actually got to get stuff done. I don't really have time to shit around. And that's the thing you'll kind of see is, like, sometimes people bring Sabo builds or flashlight builds, and they don't, like, maybe their goal isn't to, like, survive a match or whatever, but they will throw a game trying to, like, get these meme plays instead of doing anything meaningful. I think you missed this just by a second. Oh my God, great unhook. Also, I do want to say this, like, really good on the Trickster for not seeing you and, like, just getting you out of the game. Like, he knows he's in a power position. The unhook doesn't inherently threaten him, so he just keeps chasing the other girl. That's, like, really, really smart. For me as a killer, if I realize I'm so far ahead so early, I dial it back a bit, because I'm not trying to ruin people's fun. Like, yeah, I could go for a dub, but, like, I'm not trying to ruin people, right? So... let's let's keep going here. But yeah, good on him. Just little praise there. You found one of the famous shame spots. Let's see how this goes. No gen's done. That's a big worry. I'm hoping that Yun Jin is on one right now, but it is difficult. Now, the one thing that's worth noting is that if somebody goes down here, they're going to the basement, because Shelter Woods does not have a main building. It only has the shack. The basement is always in the shack. And you have a Sabo build. Now, you could get a pallet stun to save the person if they go down at the pallet, but ultimately, this person is probably going in the basement, and so you're really not going to be able to save them most of the time. So I'd be very careful about lingering here, and I'm not sure what the idea was. Like, maybe I can Sabo, but if that was the idea, I'd remember that for Shelter Woods. Yep. Does this work? You're kidding. Wow. Wow, wow. Proved me wrong. I never would walk through that pallet as killer. That's insane. Good play. Really solid play. I'm surprised he didn't hear you. You're not exactly quiet. Good stuff. Good stuff, chat. So, chat, how are we feeling about this match so far? What are you guys thinking out there? Do you think that you would make a lot of the same choices, or do you think that a lot of the decision making is stuff that you struggle with? All right, now we're going for the Sab. And this is exactly kind of what I said earlier. If other people are on gens, right, now you can maybe go for the Sabotage plays. Wow, this trickster right here. He's got the moonwalks. He's got some moonwalks. Yeah, I would definitely say this is a colossal waste of time. You're putting a lot of the load on your team. It's not the end of the world, right? Because, you know, we've all been on the side, you know, we've all been a killer that just kind of gets quote-unquote gen rushed. I will say this trickster's wasting a lot of knives and time. He's not being optimal per se. But also, like, I'm glad that you're, like, you know, going for some of the Sabotage stuff. You know, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. This Elodie is doing so well. He's out of knives, you can tell. He's out of knives because he's not throwing any. You can actually throw through that nook in the rock, but you can tell he's not going for it. Man, and she absolutely dogs herself there. That was completely preventable. Yeah, wow, what happened? That was crazy. She just looked away for 1 second and missed that he was coming around. Yeah. She just looked away for one moment. That is really, really tough. Oh, wow. He gave you that one. You definitely want to stick around for the breakout. Remember, you do have breakout. Or is that boil over? Oh, God. I'm getting them confused. That might be... No, boil over's the horse. That's breakout, right? Yeah, you could have stuck around for the breakout. He did drop her, though, which, you know, I get it. Self-care, super smart. Super, super smart. Kat Marie, how you doing? Welcome back. How are you feeling today? He dropped, though? Right, yeah. But here's the thing. He dropped. You didn't know he was going to drop, though, right? So if we consider, like, I would have stuck around for breakout, probably. And then he would have dropped, and I would have had to, like, loop him or something. We know he's out of knives, so that wouldn't have been inherently a threatening situation necessarily. But we have to be careful that we don't say, well, he dropped, is like a justification for the guess that we made, not knowing whether he was going to drop, right? So, but... Good stuff so far. Like, super, super good stuff. 2 gens down. He's got 3 hooks. And she went down at the pallet. There we go. Yep. This is what I would do. Oh. Which means I would have made a mistake. Really good looping. You're checking the rock. And gonna have to throw now. Yeah, you're in a tough spot now. 2 slugs. He's in a really strong spot. You're gonna have to get the dead heart of a lifetime. Exhausted on the ground, I suspect. I didn't see it, but... That's okay. You bought them time, and this is what I talked about earlier, is like, you haven't been hooked, so you pulling aggro is like a really good opportunity. Unfortunately, though, in doing a lot of this stuff, is like, nobody's on gens now. So you guys got 2 gens, but all that pressure is now gone, and he knows it, because he has seen 2 of you slug, and he was chasing you. And 1 other person had to pick the slugs up, so he knows that 4 people are completely occupied right now, and he knows he's in a power position. And that actually might hurt. It might hurt you guys, right? See what happens here. All right, they're on a gen. They moved over. Solid work. They are nervous at best. All right, it looks like she's coming for you here. Been a lot of stress going on lately, but I'm here. Hey, that's all you can do is your best, right? All you can do is just give your 100% every day. Really smart on his part. He knows that girl's on death hook too, so you guys definitely got to get into getting generators done Because if she goes down, your team is infinitely weaker for it. 3 gens done. All right, get this heal, yep. If I were this Elodie, I would take aggro. 100%. It's going to be tough to see what happens, though. I have a feeling 2 people could make it out of this. It's going to be my kind of guesstimate right now. This is dicey. Very dicey. Seems to have played off. Good job. Working on the gen. Your ability to use stealth in combination with other tactics is going to be what makes or break like how high of a skill ceiling you can achieve as killer or survivor. So this is really good. Yunjin's on the other. Generator over across the way. So 2 gens getting work, 2 gens remaining. Nobody's being chased right now. He's not taking damage. We're looking at the left-hand side of the screen. We don't see any laceration meter ticks going on. Not yet, anyway. And so that's how we know right now that not a single survivor is being touched. As Trickster, you got to get knives first before M1. So now if you're lucky, he'll think that Elodie was the only one on the gen. Nope, unlucky. Got to make out that tree. Good job. I would have probably... I mean, you do have Dead Hard. Really, really good Dead Hard there. Careful of the window. Holding W could be tough. Oop, oop. Ooh, barely made it through. Good stun there. So I do want to take a quick analysis of this. You definitely have to be careful in autopiloting. I will say that this was definitely an autopilot moment where his red stain is like 100% just like right here. There's no reason to assume he's going anywhere else. Yeah, so I think 100% when he goes through. Now, he didn't even really mind game it, right? Typically, the red stain, like the killer will show their red stain moving, and then they'll moonwalk up to the window and then vault it, right? And that way, you know, if the survivor's watching, the killer will show their red stain going this way, and then the survivor's going to go, oh, they're going around, so I'm going to go this way, right? And then that's when the killer moonwalks. In this case, and I get it, like I do it all the time. You just panic, make a decision. So it's not a condemnation of who you are. And, you know, you're still a fucking great player. So, yeah, at this point, he's vaulting. This is just a moment of, like, really, really just poor reaction time, which happens. But oh, Lord, he coming. So I'd be very, very careful just paying a little bit more attention to being a little more patient, right? You got very lucky that he completely fucked that up. Good job here. This is exactly what you would want to do, right? You don't want to stand at the pallet, right? This is something a lot of newer survivors do where they stand really like right here. They'll just stand right in front of the pallet and then they'll throw it. And as they're throwing it, Trickster is over here just like bink, 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 and, you know, getting it done. So this is really smart that you went around the corner and then doubled back. You made him think that you were gone and then you came back for the stun. Really, really sick stun. That's exactly how you want to play Huntress and Trickster. You do have to be careful, though, because you almost didn't get that. If you're not careful with the timing of that, what can actually happen is that he moves further, like he moves through. If he's right here, you won't get the stun because he'll body block the prompt from showing up. Luckily, you got him at about right here, just before he would have got there, but very, very spooky. So, right there. Yep. Just... Whew, that was dicey timing. There's a pallet there. Really easy pallet to get mind game. He might be, yep, he's checking the final gen. There you go. Using your self-care. Super smart. Super, super good stuff. He had a lot of pressure, and unfortunately, he did lose it. He had 2 chases that were too long. Both of his chases, I think, lasted like a minute to a minute and a half. And those 2 chases will lose you enough of a match that it's basically game over. Solid work. And he's actually chasing the Elodie. And this is the thing that you would want to do as a killer, is chase the person who's not on Death Hook. Which none of them are on Death Hook, but just going forward. Because if this person's only on first hook, when they go on hook, the team is more likely to try to save them because they're only on first hook, right? Whereas if somebody's on death hook or last hook, the team may just leave and be like, ah, fuck, not worth it, you know? And you could generate a good amount of like artificial pressure. Wow, this Elodie, so sneaky, you almost missed her. Really good stuff from her. Wow, solid. Arakura. She wasn't having it. She left. She was gone. She's like, I'm not doing it. Can't make me. Solid stuff. So it's honestly for your gameplay, and I've seen you play for Survivor. It's small things, right? Wasting time's not the end of the world, right? You don't always need to be like hyper efficient, rushing gens. As long as you understand the nature of the flow of the match. In this case, you kind of at some point were like, okay, we need gens, we need to get Ruin out. And then you were like, okay, now we'll do some Sabo funsies, you know? So I think all in all, super solid strategies, the game knowledge, the patience with regards to unhooks. There was a lot of really, really solid stuff that went on there. And I think you have so much built up that's really, really solid. It's just minor knob tweaks and turns. I think you're crushing it. So, good stuff, right? Proud of you. When Trickster made myself, I see he made some mistakes when chasing a survivor, like he rapid fire throws. Rapid firing is not the end of the world. It's really not that big a deal. I rapid fire quite a bit. It's just, you have to be sure that if you're rapid firing, it's accurate, right? And that's the tough part, yeah. Hi, Enola, how are you? I said hi earlier. I think you probably had to dip for a second. It's good to see you. We're just doing some gameplay reviews today, just vibing, you know? Thanks. Of course, dude. Yeah, you crushed it. Yo, thank you for submitting stuff. Right? It was really, really solid. I think I might put your video up on YouTube with